What if I told you that pretty much everything you think you know about the history of wine is wrong? Today, we are uncorking a story that is going to completely change how you see one of the world's oldest and most loved drinks.
Seriously, when I say ancient wine, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, right, it's probably the rolling hills of Tuscany, or maybe a big Roman feast, or the famous vineyards of Bordeaux. That's the story we've all been told.
But here's the thing. That classic story is missing its first and honestly probably its most important chapters. The real origin of wine begins thousands of years before the Romans or the French ever even thought about it.
And it all goes down in a landscape that you would probably never ever expect.
So, where does this story really kick off? Let's get into it. Our first section, a discovery up in the mountains that gave us a huge clue to the past.
So, yeah, forget those gentle European hillsides for a minute. Our journey takes us way up into the rugged, windswept Zagros Mountains in what is now Iran. This is where the first clues were found, not in some fancy cellar, but buried deep in the earth, just waiting for thousands of years to be discovered.
So it all started when archaeologists working there unearthed these massive ancient pottery jars. I mean, they were obviously old, but what were they for? They seemed to point to some kind of forgotten practice, a lost piece of cultural tech that became this fascinating puzzle for scientists to solve.
Okay, so what exactly was this puzzle, and how'd they crack it? Let's move on and see how modern science literally helped to uncork ancient history.
Now, before we get to the big reveal, let's just lock in one important word that's about to become very relevant: vintner. A vintner is just a person who makes wine. Simple as that. Okay, keep that in your back pocket.
So after some really careful chemical analysis of the gunk left inside those jars, scientists were able to date them, and they were from 7,000 years ago. Just let that sink in for a second. 7,000 years. We're talking about 5,000 BC.
And to really put that in perspective, this timeline just shows how incredibly ancient that is. Take a look at this. This winemaking in Iran predates the Great Pyramids of Giza by 2,500 years. It happened over 4,000 years before the city of Rome was even a thing. This isn't just old, this is foundational human history. So what did these jars actually tell us? Well, first, they held the chemical signatures of the world's oldest known wine, period. Second, they give us rock-solid proof of a pretty sophisticated winemaking culture in ancient Iran. And all of this strongly suggests that the people of this region were, in fact, the world's very first vintners, mastering this complex craft millennia before it became a hallmark of European culture. But you might be asking, if this tradition is so ancient and so important, what happened to it? And that brings us to our next section, a culture transformed, and a major turning point in this long, long history. As you can see here, we see a huge shift over time. For thousands of years, winemaking wasn't just something people did. It was an early cultural cornerstone, a part of daily life, of celebration. Then, much later in history, as Islam spread through the region, cultural norms changed, and alcohol was prohibited. It's just a really powerful example of how cultures evolve, and how even the most ancient traditions can transform over time. So let's zoom out. Why does finding a 7,000-year-old wine jar matter so much today? This final section is all about the ancient legacy of this incredible find. Because this is about so much more than just a drink. This discovery fundamentally reshapes our whole map of where early cultural innovation even began. I mean, think about it. Making wine isn't simple. It takes a deep knowledge of agriculture, of chemistry, of pottery for storage. It's a sophisticated technology. And this evidence places its origins squarely in ancient Iran, which really challenges that long-held belief that these kinds of advancements first came out of Europe. You know, the source material we're drawing from puts it perfectly. This suggests that Iranians were some of the world's very first vintners, thousands of years before the industry boomed in Europe. That one sentence, backed up by hard science, it just rewrites a huge part of what we thought we knew. And that leaves us with a final, big question to think about. Learning that the world's first vintners probably came from the Zagros Mountains, not the hills of Europe, it really makes you wonder, what other parts of our shared human history have we gotten backwards? What other amazing stories of innovation and creativity from all over the world are just waiting, buried under the earth, to be rediscovered?